Jay here, straight for Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm in my kitchen. We are live, so get involved in the chat and the comments. We're going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news in mild Salford. I won't say sunny Salford, but it's pretty mild. Quite a few stories to get through. We're going to have a little bit of an update on what's going on with Brian Mbumo. Also, is there anything in this Christopher Nkunku story that seems to have been doing the rounds the last couple of days? We'll be getting into that, plus some outgoings, including Marcus Rashford. But before we get into all that, make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. Now, as you might have guessed from the thumbnail, the main story there that I wanted to talk about, or the sort of lead story I'll talk about, is this Marcus Rashford one. Marcus Rashford to Barcelona. Now, I saw this a little while ago, and you thought, Marcus Rashford apparently wants to go to Barcelona. Well, no, don't we all? But is it going to happen? Well, according to some reports recently, it could actually be on. According to some reports doing the rounds this morning and late last night, it looks like Manchester United and Barcelona could make some sort of deal happen if United are willing to accept a loan deal. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. You want Marcus Rashford, ideally, to move on a permanent deal. He's on a lot of money, and I get the idea of a loan move, gets his wages off the wage bill. I get all that. But he's had a decent season at Villa. I thought he did okay at Aston Villa. I thought he did enough to warrant clubs to look at him and say, okay, there's still a player there. Also, look at his career. Whether you like Marcus Rashford or not, there's no denying he scored lots of goals during his career. So you think the clubs that would be in for him in terms of a permanent move. Now, one of the sticking points is obviously the transfer fee, but still, we should be able to get, 35, 40 million for a player of the caliber of Marcus Rashford, you would think, and that money can then be reinvested into the squad. However, we're not hearing too many noises about permanent moves, are we? And the latest one is about a move to Barcelona on a loan move. So it says here in The Guardian, Barcelona keen on loan move for Marcus Rashford, even if Nico Williams arrives. Manchester United players' versatility and asset. Hansi Flick, obviously the manager, believes Rashford would enhance his options. Goes on to say, Barcelona are eyeing a loan move for Marcus Rashford with the 27-year-old's flexibility across the front line viewed as an asset. Barcelona's number one target is Nico Williams, but even if the athletic Bilbao wide player is signed, Hansi Flick believes the Manchester United forward would enhance his options. Rashford's pace from the wing and ability to operate as a number 9 will deepen the squad and give the head coach a capable deputy to Robert Lewandowski as centre forward, or at centre forward, I should say. So let me know what you think about this. Could it happen? Do you see there's anything in this? Do you think it is viable, Marcus Rashford going out on loan? Would you be happy with him going out on loan? Again, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I think we all want a permanent move. But is this the second best option? I do think we need to move him on. I don't see a scenario where Marcus Rashford comes back to United and plays for Manchester United. Ruben Amorim has set his stall out. He's made it abundantly clear he doesn't feel like Marcus Rashford has a future at the club. He dropped him from the squad last season. Can you, like, a player with Marcus Rashford's sort of stature and reputation and his experience and what he brings to the team, not even making the squad? I think in some cases, 1 or 2 games, we didn't even have enough players. And so it's obvious that he just doesn't want him around, doesn't think he's doing what he needs to be doing as a Manchester United player. And this is a player that, don't forget, was starting for Manchester United. He was starting under Ruben Amorim. Then we had the Manchester derby in the Etihad, where both Marcus Rashford and Alejandro Garnacho were dropped from the squad. Garnacho did enough to get himself back into the squad. I know since then there's been all sorts of dramas, but Marcus Rashford didn't. I think he was in the squad once over the next 8 weeks or whatever it was. Gets his move to Villa. Does okay. I think there's something like 4 goals and 6 assists or something like that. But not unbelievable. But I still think he's done enough to remind people what he's capable of. And I'm surprised there's not been a club for him on a permanent move. I just feel it is obviously the wages that are a massive sticking point. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Daz Meekin says, why would Barca want him? David Dewsnip says he has to leave. So does Sancho and Nacho. Oh, Garnacho, obviously. Just get short. Frank Aff says, needs to move on. Dino Stewart says, nobody wants to buy him. FFS, just give the rat away. Bit harsh there, but I understand there's a lot of anger towards Marcus Rashford. Morning, Jay, says Simon Townsend. How long is it supposed to take for Brentford to accept or reject our bid? I'm going to get into that in a minute. I just want to stick on the Marcus Rashford front. Just humour me a little bit here. Let me know what you think about this one. If you think this is ridiculous, as you know, we can have a genuine adult conversation, then by all means tell me. If we got Marcus Rashford off the wage bill, he's on about roughly £1 million a month in it. So it's probably like 12 million quid or whatever, or 9 million quid if you got him off for the season. I'm just doing quick maths. Could we bring in another player on loan? Would that be an option? Do you think that'd work if you were just trying to make it sort of, the maths math? We were talking the other week about us going for Polina, maybe. Would anyone be happy with that? If Marcus went out and we used the money we're saving on his wages to loan in someone like João Polina from Bayern Munich, would anyone be up for that? Or is that just nonsense? I'm talking rubbish. I do feel like we need to move players on. And I would like to see crash bang wallet. What a picture. Excuse me there. Me extensionally just fell on the floor. I would like to see us move Marcus Rashford on. But if we can, on a permanent deal, would you accept a loan move if it meant bringing in another player on loan? Could there be something there? And if not, Polina, I'm just throwing that name out there. Who else would there be? Would anyone go for that? Let me know what you think. I was wondering what was going on then with the conversation. Astaire says, Jay, your opinion on bringing in Thomas Partey to United on a free? Absolutely not. T-Piddy, as Macca calls him. Don't want him near my club, and you all know the reasons why. I don't want him near my club anyway, regardless of off-the-field issues. I just don't think that's a good move. I don't think we should be going for Thomas Partey. There's a reason he gets booed every week. Let's put it that way. Greg says Polina would be class. David Dewsnip says, yes, Jay. Alex King says Rashford won't move unless it's Barca. United just need to suck it up or they'll have him on the wage book. Eric says, yep. William W says, yes, good option. Adam Derbyshire says, let's start again. Sorry, Adam. Adam Derbyshire, why don't we go for loans? I do not see the problem. We have to be realistic about where we are at the minute, and not everyone wants to just sign for us for now. Well, let's just forget about the Thomas Partey thing. It ain't happening. Come on. Igalo on loan, says Frank F. Do you remember those days? EAFC Dodd, I'm happy to loan anyone if the correct player isn't there. I mean, we've done loan deals in the past. People might forget this, and obviously everyone hates him now, but he did a job for 2 years. Tevez was a loan, wasn't it? It was a 2-year. We didn't own Carlos Tevez. It was all third party and all weird, and I know I'm going back a long time. But you can get loan moves that are effective. You can get loan moves that do a good job. Henrik Larsson was a short-term loan. He did a very good job in that short amount of time. I know, again, I'm going back in time. But loan moves aren't terrible if it's a player that can do a job for you. I'm just saying, if we can't sell Marcus Rashford, maybe we loan him out and loan someone in. Maybe that could be an option for Manchester United. Let me know what you think. Barca, let me just read this. MN2K2 Shocks Films presents, says Barca just won Nico. They also just signed another winger. Rashford to Barca ain't happening, and he needs to be more realistic option. So they're not having it. He's not having it. He doesn't think that one's going to happen. Steve out says, I don't want to make Rashford suffer or anything. People act as if he's as bad as the devil or Sancho. Lol. I'd like to see Marcus Rashford move on. I'd like to see him get his career going. I don't have any anger or hatred towards Marcus Rashford. I still respect what he did on and off the pitch in a red shirt. Let's not forget, it wasn't that long ago. It was a few years ago when he was like the darling of the country when he's feeding all those kids. And for United, he scored a lot of goals, but it is time for him to move on. So I want him to move on, and I wish him well. I just hope he can move on this summer, and ideally we get some money in for him. But if not, maybe a loan option is what we go for. Let me know what you think. Hit that like button as well, please, people. Come on, let's get to 200 likes. Cheers, Jay. That was a mouthful. Yeah, I was trying my best there. Jonathan K28 says, I think Rashford could do a better job than Xerxes and Højlund up front. You might even be right. Yeah, you might be right. If you played Joshua Xerxes or Rasmus Højlund or Marcus Rashford up front for an entire season, it'd be Marcus Rashford that ends up getting the most goals and assists. However, he doesn't have a future under Ruben Amorim. It is obvious. I cannot see a scenario where Ruben Amorim goes, you know what? Marcus Rashford can come back to the club and put him back in the team. We've made up. I just don't see it happening. I think we need to move on. United haven't moved on quickly enough in the past with certain players, and I think now is the time for us to move on from Marcus Rashford, move on from Jadon Sancho, move on from Antony, and move on from Alejandro Garnacho. I think we have to be a little bit more just brutal, to be honest with you. I don't think dragging these things out or trying to make things work that aren't going to work helps us. If we're going to move forward and we're going to progress, we need to move out some of the players there. Miss Man United in the chat. Good to see her. MF Grimm says, we don't get a deal for Rashford. That works for us. I won't be mad at the club banning him from club facilities, staff and players. He can sit at home and watch other players claim a World Club spot. You've got to be careful with stuff like that. you can't just ban players unless they've done something that breaches. I think there's like contractual stuff there. I don't think you just ban players from the training ground unless they proper breach something. I think like even Sancho wasn't. I know he wasn't allowed to train with the first team, but he was still allowed to train with the academy. I think it was. And also, you've got to be careful what sort of message you're sending out to other players. That doesn't always send out a positive message to other players. If players are looking at going to Manchester United and think, "Wow, they're banning Marcus Rashford from the training ground because they can't get a buyer for him. Do I really want to go there?" Not for me. Just got to be careful with that one. I get there's a lot of anger. Okay, I won't. Someone's put, don't read this comment. I want them in. Send it. Okay, I won't. Right, let's have a look at other stories. What else is doing around? Let's talk about this Christopher Nkunku one. We had this the other day. There's another story in the Mirror. I think this is John Cross this morning saying Christopher Nkunku transfer hint issued by Enzo Maresca as Man United eye Chelsea misfit. The words Chelsea misfit fill me full of dread when it comes to potential signings. I don't think that's a good look to be signing a potential or a Chelsea misfit personally, but we'll get into it. Enzo Maresca has opened the door for Christopher Nkunku to leave Chelsea during the summer window. United are interested in the Chelsea striker, and Maresca could not give any guarantees on Nkunku's future. Nkunku joined from RB Leipzig for 52 million 2 years ago, but was struggled to hold down a regular place because of form and injuries. We were linked with him, weren't we? A little bit in the January transfer window. Obviously, didn't happen. He scored quite a few goals, I think, last season in the Conference League. He scored 5 goals in the Conference League. He scored 3 in the Premier League, and he scored 1 in the FA Cup. His record overall last season, I think, was 44 games, 14 goals, and 5 assists. It's okay. I mean, 19 goal involvements in 44 games isn't too shabby, but it's when you look at the Premier League, 27 appearances, admittedly, not many of them were starts, to be fair. I think he's only got about 910 minutes. 3 goals, 2 assists. It's okay. I think Nkunku is all right. I don't necessarily think he's that good. As always, if he comes to United, I'll get behind him. I'm not that excited about the prospect of signing Christopher Nkunku. I'm going to put it out there right now. If we get Brian Mbeumo and we have Matheus Cunha, I'd rather see Xerxes as a part of the front three than us buying Nkunku. I'd rather see maybe a little bit further down the line, sort of after he's got a few more minutes under his belt, Chido Obi being given a chance. Rasmus Højlund, if he's going to stay, would he get more? He's going to get 1 minute. So he's going to get some minutes. I know Rasmus Højlund's not exactly a great option at the minute, but I think Nkunku and Højlund, I don't even think there's that in terms of what they're going to give you. I don't even think it's miles apart. I think if you are going to go out and get a striker, you want a big improvement. You want someone who's going to take the club forward. If you're going to go and get Brian Mbeumo, you're going to get Matheus Cunha, but we've already got Matheus Cunha. Then you want to sign a striker. You go, wow, okay, yeah, United on it now. Do you feel that way with Nkunku? I don't. Let me know what you think. You might have seen more of him than I have. I just think he's, a bit mid, as the kids say. Let me know what you think. Can we stop with the Thomas Partey thing before I start, putting people in timeouts? Andrew A says, Chido is nowhere near the first team, Jay. He proved it when he got some minutes this season. He's going to progress, though. He's going to get better. I'm not saying he should be starting, but I expect him to get minutes. And I think he's going to be an option. It certainly was an option last season. I expect him to be an option more and more as the season progresses. Astaire says, Jonathan David for free. I like Jonathan David. I think it'd be a good option, but there's talk that he wants silly money in there. I think there was talk that he wants about 250k a week, if not a little bit more. Don't see that happening at Manchester United. Did a video yesterday about how Brian Mbeumo's his wages are rumoured to be around the 150k mark, which is a lot of money, obviously, but it's about right for me that. I think 250k, I think I think that's what Jonathan David want, maybe even a little bit more. Don't see it happening. Mikel Anderson says he's definitely mid-J. I'm a little bit of a skeptic when it comes to Christopher Nkunku. Ash Jenkins says, do you think we'll get Wesley Sneijder over the line this season? What's your favourite transfer rumour that dragged on? Sneijder was a good one, wasn't it? That went on for about 3 years. There was Sneijder, then there was De Jong, wasn't it, for about a year. Do you remember the Frankie De Jong one? It was like, and also this narrative started building, didn't it? That if Erik ten Hag doesn't get Frankie De Jong, then he can't manage Manchester United. We have to get him De Jong, which I always thought was a bit bizarre because I like De Jong. He's a decent player, but I don't think any manager should rely completely on one signing or it's not going to work. So, yeah, the De Jong one was one. The Sneijder one was one. I might be missing a couple of others. There was a few. Bale every year when he was at Madrid says heaven soul. Thank you. Yeah, that was another one that went on. Santa Not says, I'm late again, lol. It's okay, Notch. We love you. We'll forgive you. Bale, yeah. Other people saying, I almost said Christian Bale then. No, Christian Bale's the actor who plays Batman. Gareth Bale is one that did go on for a long time, and we always thought it was happening. Sometimes they do happen. Do you remember when Ronaldo returning to Manchester United was one that went on and on for ages, and then actually it did happen. That was the weird thing. Is like people get going. You lot need to move on from Cristiano Ronaldo. He's never going to come back to Manchester United, and then lo and behold, he did. He ended up coming back to Manchester United, and varying degrees of success, shall we say. In terms of Brian Mbeumo, I know there's a few people asking about what is going on with Brian Mbeumo. When are we going to get him? Are they going to reject the bid? Are they going to accept the bid? We've got Laurie coming on for Inside United today, this afternoon. So we're going to sit down with him, and we're going to get him as well, not just on Brian Mbeumo, but I want to ask him a little bit about Emi Martinez. There was a piece in The Athletic yesterday mentioning Emi Martinez from Aston Villa as a potential incoming for Manchester United. Manchester United apparently have been in talks, have been looking at Emi Martinez. He could be someone who comes in. I've spoken about Martinez a few times. I think it was a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday when he was first linked with the move to Manchester United. Not for me personally. I get when you push comes to shove, you could argue that he's a better goalkeeper than Andre Onana, but it's like the Nkunku thing. Is it enough of a step up? And also with Martinez, I always feel like he's got one in him. That's my take on it. What do you reckon? Giggity says, can Mbeumo refuse the contract extension, Jay? I mean, he could make a lot of noise around that, couldn't he? He could kick up a fuss. I think the option is he's got a year left, and then Brentford have got another option on a year for him. So I presume that Brentford, if they want to trigger that, they can trigger it. However, if he was to go to Brentford, I think he has got a good relationship with them from what we gather. He could turn around and say, look, I want to move. I don't want to sign this another deal. I don't want to go. Stay. This isn't going to work. Then they will try and move him. I feel like he will end up coming to Manchester United. I feel like he would. Let me know what you think. And Elsa's Bartes 2.0, obviously I presume talking about Martinez. However, Real recognizes Real, says absolute no for Martinez. Other people don't seem to be too enamored of Emi Martinez coming to Manchester United. Heaven Soul says, annoys me because if we pay 40 million for Martinez, they'll use that to sign Chevalier, who is younger and better. Simon Senior says, Jay, how do you feel about Jamie Vardy for a season or two? Proven winner and knows where the goal is. I feel like Jamie Vardy is probably a season too far now. I thought last season, I think it was about 7 Premier League goals, which isn't too disastrous. It's not amazing, but it's all right. And especially for a Leicester team that were proper struggling. I just don't see it. I don't see Jamie Vardy coming to Manchester United now. I don't think that's going to work. I think it was a few years ago. Yeah. What is he, 37 now for a striker? I know he's a pretty healthy guy, isn't he? And he's still got something there, but I just don't think he's a decent option. Giggity says, if it's not a clear improvement, then why risk Martinez? I think that is a very good point as well. I think it's just it's a bit of a sideways step, if anything. Stephanie Griffey says, I want Bart Simpson, though Verbruggen. Bart Verbruggen. Yeah, I was talking about him quite a lot. And Elle says, Jay, what about Oblak? I was shocked to find he's only 32. Yeah, I mean, we were linked with Jan Oblak, weren't we, a couple of seasons ago? It feels like that's not happening now. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one with Onana because it does feel as though the manager is kind of sticking with him, although he's not, it's not like he's emphatically, oh, this is my guy. But a lot of the rumours and reports we're hearing is that Ruben Amorim is happy to stick with Andre Onana. However, there's that conflict, isn't there? Why are we hearing the Emi Martinez rumours then if he's happy with Andre Onana? I'm hoping Laurie Whitwell can shed a little bit more light on them. MF Grimm says, Edison, Rios or Jazari for CM, who are you taking? We've been linked a little bit with Richard Rios. I saw some more stories doing the rounds this morning. A few accounts on socials saying that United are looking at Palmeiras. Richard Rios, I had this on my news on Monday outside Old Trafford. The issue with Richard Rios is 84 million, I think his buyout clause is. Are Manchester United going to pay 84 million? I very much doubt it. So we'd have to wait and see what happens on that front. Also, what's going to happen in terms of a striker? Are we going to go for Gyökeres? Are we going to go for Osimhen? That one's looking doubtful. We'll have to wait and see. At the minute, though, all eyes are on Brian Mbeumo. We've had that second bid go in. It's not been accepted or rejected yet. Going to speak to Laurie Whitwell later on today and get a little bit more info on Brian Mbeumo. What is going on there? Are we going to get that deal done? We need to, because I want to get Mbeumo done. Get him into Carrington. I think the 7th of July, they're all back in training. And hopefully as well, we can start looking at other areas. Going to be back later on with Laurie. Plus, we're going to be back later on tonight with Transfers Live. Me and Joseph are going to be back. Yeah, it's a full shift, bro. Full shift today, mate. doing like a 12-hour shift. Don't you worry about that. So make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. I've been Jay Motty. This has been the Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.